Good morning. My name is Tim Baldermann. I am the mayor of New Lenox. And here on our 19th anniversary of remembering the tragedy that took place on September 11th, 2001. This obviously is a trying time for all of us due to this pandemic, due to social unrest that we see throughout our country. But 19 years ago, we vowed to never forget that attack that took place on our great nation. We also vowed to never forget the victims that died that day, the civilians who just went on their way to work, the civilians who died trying to help others, and of course, the brave men and women of our police departments, fire departments, and military that responded that day not only to the locations of these tragedies, but to be on guard to keep our country and our communities safe. So although we are not in a position to gather like we normally do, we were not going to let this day go by without remembering those victims, those brave men and women that served and continue to serve our communities, and most importantly, how we came together as a nation to heal. At this time, I would like to ask Tim Terrell to step up, the post commander from the VFW.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My name is Tim Terrell. I'm the commander of Harry E. Anderson, VFW Post 9545. I wish we could have a crowd here, but Tim, thank you for making this happen. Today, as we honor Patriot Day and the 2,977 Americans who tragically lost their lives 19 years ago, there is no denying that America has changed. Since that horrible day, we fought in 2 wars. One in Iraq has ended. One in Afghanistan is winding down. Thousands of our nation's finest have paid the ultimate price fighting for our freedom, and thousands more have returned home, bearing the physical and mental scars of battle. And our country as a whole is certainly more vigilant when it comes to safety and security. Americans rediscovered their devotion to our country and to our neighbors that day. We boldly stood as a nation, and we refused to succumb to the fear or despair. It truly became one of our finest hours. Though there is no doubt that the memory of innocent Americans who perished as a result of the attack on that fateful day will remain etched in our minds, the heroic acts of that day will remain just as enduring. But there's no question that America will still face threats to our way of life, whether it's overseas or right here in our own soil. However, September 11th serves as an eternal reminder that we must act to ensure that forces of ignorance and hatred never prevail, and that we will never allow anyone to take our freedom. America will always stand united and proud in the face of our enemies. That's what makes America great. That's what makes America a symbol of hope, and that's the best way to honor the memory of those lost due to the events of September 11th. God bless you. God bless America.
Good morning. My name is Chief April DeSandro. I just want to start out by thanking Mayor Baldermann for having us here today, and tell all of you that I'm so honored to be speaking to you today. Let me start by saying that my thoughts and prayers are with all the families and friends that were lost on September 11th in 2001. I'm sure that not a day goes by that you don't miss their presence in your life. Today, we celebrate Patriots Day. I know we often talk about what we remember on that day. We talk about who we were with, where we were at, and what was going on. I can remember that day like it was yesterday. I was on my way into work, and I heard the news of the first plane colliding into the Twin Towers. Most people thought it was a horrific accident, but in a matter of a moment, everything changed that day when the second passenger plane struck the Twin Towers. By then, I was huddled by one TV with all my coworkers at the police department, and everybody stood there in disbelief. Everyone stood there as the rest of the story played out. Another plane crashed into the Pentagon, and another plane that was bound for Washington, D.C., crashed into a field in Pennsylvania because it was thwarted by the brave passengers that day. I remember feeling afraid. I remember being afraid for my family, my children, and our country that day. I remember the shock and the disbelief and wondering what would happen next. I remember the gut-wrenching pain that everyone felt for the thousands of people and the lives that were lost that day. Our country was under attack. Most of all, I remember the days and the months and the years that followed this tragedy. I remember a country that came together as patriots. I remember each of us prepared to do our part to defend our country and to stand up to an enemy that wanted to destroy us. Many people lost their lives that day, and many days after that, being patriots and defending our country. Today we remember and celebrate every single one of them. On that day, we stood together against a common enemy, standing up for our country against a terrible evil. Today, we have many different changes happening within our country. We're in the middle of a worldwide pandemic, and we have lost many loved ones. But we have stood together, trying to find ways to keep one another safe. We have learned the value of a hug, meeting a friend for dinner, going to school, watching baseball games. Our world has changed again, but we have stood together. We also have another battle going on within our country. It is divided at its core. I would ask you not to be divided. I would ask you to stand together like we did 19 years ago. We are stronger together, and though we may have some differences in our thoughts, beliefs, or even in our politics, we are always stronger standing together. If we want to see change in our country, we need to do it together as patriots, just like we have done so many other times throughout the history of our country. Thank you, and God bless.
Good morning. My name is Adam Riegel. I'm Fire Chief in the Lenox Fire Protection District. Again, thank you, Mayor and the village, for putting this together. 19 years ago this morning, tragedy struck the United States. And as I've said before, everyone remembers where they were that day. Everyone remembers the firemen, the policemen, the citizens, and the iron workers that came in later to help try to put the country back together and find anyone that was still alive. There were lines across the United States for people trying to donate blood. Everyone was doing anything they could to help. Mr. Rogers, I think, said it well, that when he was a young boy, he'd see scary things on the TV and his mother would tell him, look for the helpers. You can find helpers anywhere. That held true 19 years ago at 9/11, and it holds true today. The best of people come out in tragic times in the United States if you actually look for it. So today, as we remember everything and everyone that we lost, I ask you to take a minute and look for the good out there too. Look for the people doing good deeds, from the firemen, the policemen, the citizens out picking up garbage in the streets. If you look for it, you can find it. So as we take this day to remember everyone who's lost, I'd like to thank everyone for their continued support as we go through this hard time for everyone. Thank you. God bless.
I want to thank our speakers for being here today, doing such a wonderful job of representing our military, our law enforcement, and our fire service. When tragic events like this happen in our history, it's important to heal, but it's also important to remember. There are lessons that are to be learned. Our speakers have spoke about where they were during that time. I was serving as a police chief, and in the days that happened after the tragic events, I witnessed a lot of anger. I witnessed protesters in the street that were angry, and it was very understandable. But it's what happened after that that mattered most, that we came together regardless of our ideologies, regardless of our race. We came together as one to be supportive of each other and to heal together. We are at a time of social divide right now. What we need to do as true Americans is listen to those that are hurting, listen to those that feel that their voices are not being heard, but support the brave men and women that are out there every day serving our communities in law enforcement, in the fire service, and those in the military. Our military members fight to preserve our Constitution, and that means hearing the voices of those that we may disagree with. They have every right to do that, but we must support those that defend us daily. I want to thank you for joining in and watching this live stream today, or for those of you that are watching it later on YouTube or Channel 6. Thank you for being good Americans, good citizens here in New Lenox, the home of proud Americans. God bless each and every one of you. Thank you.